Hello, we're live. Nice to see everyone out there. My name is Beth. I am a comedy writer by trade, but I am a wedding speech writer here on YouTube and with my company, Authentically Funny Speeches. I've helped upwards of 600 people write and edit heartfelt and funny wedding speeches. I got to take these out. This is killing me. There we go. That's much better. Hold on. Now I don't feel like I'm wearing earmuffs. Um, yes, so here for the next hour, this is just a live Q&A. I'm answering your wedding speech questions because I have products and services that help people with wedding speeches. I'm going to answer your questions for the next hour. Send them to me in comments. And even if you don't have a question, go ahead and let me know in the comments section what kind of speech are you writing? Are you the father of the bride? Are you mom? Are you giving a best man speech, a maid of honor speech? And let me know where you're coming from. We've got people all over the world. So if you have a question, put it in the comments. A number of people have sent me questions in advance for this. So let's get started and answer some questions. Oh, and whoever asks the best question live while we're doing this stream is going to win a free speech audit by me. That's the service where you send me your speech and I record a 20, 30-minute video going line by line through your speech and offering you feedback, suggestions, ways to make the structure better and how to make the humor better and how to make sure the tone is exactly right and you just tick all the right boxes. So looks like Laurel Clive said hello, but was here a little bit early. So hi, Laurel. Thanks for being the first person here. Let's jump into questions. The first question is from Maureen. Maureen said, my husband and I will be speaking together at my son's wedding. So we've got a mother of the groom. I will start with a few words about my son and then a few things about my daughter-in-law. What should my husband focus on? So, okay, so two people speaking, mom and dad are speaking at the wedding. It, to me, I think it's great that you're both planning to speak because I do see a lot of videos where you just see one person speaking which but two people are standing up there, and that to me always seems a little bit odd. If two people are going up to the mic, please, two people say something. Even if you've got one person who's very, very shy, let them do the introduction, let them do the business part of it and welcome everybody at least, so they're not just standing up there like it's Penn and Teller. So Maureen and her husband will be speaking. So she wants to, it sounds like, Maureen, you want to know how to not repeat or how to not make it sound like your husband is sort of doing the exact same thing right after you've done it, because you're going to speak about your son and then you're going to say a few things about your daughter-in-law. And I think with something like this, what's really going to be helpful is if you do a little bit of what's called signposting. So instead of worrying if it's going to seem as if you're both covering the same ground, let people know, hi, I'm Maureen and we're so happy to be here. And you know, we couldn't decide who should come up and speak, so we both came up. And first I'm going to speak and tell you a few of my favorite stories about my son and as he's growing up, and then my husband is going to say, is going to share some of his favorite memories. If you do it like that, then it doesn't feel like you're both doing the same thing, because we as the audience, we know what the expectation is. We know what's coming. We know that you're going to share your favorite ones, and then we get to look forward to, especially if you've got some juicy ones, then we get to look forward to, wow, if those were her stories, what's dad going to say? So I think just a little bit of signposting is going to help. Maybe if you wanted to you first share your favorite stories, then your husband shares a few favorite stories, and then if you wanted to, you could both speak about the daughter-in-law at the end. So you sort of set up, maybe you do favorite stories from early life, your husband does favorite stories maybe from a little bit later in your son's life, and then you both you each take a turn welcoming your daughter-in-law to the family and talking about why she's such a great match for your son. And by the way, great job remembering to speak about the other half of the couple. I see so many speeches where people focus on their half of the couple, which is understandable, but they don't talk about the other half of the couple. So you get a lot of best men that spend their entire speech talking about the groom, which is great, but then they kind of just never even acknowledge the fact that there's a second person, that there's a bride up there, there's a second person who's waiting to hear something about themselves and an entire audience who's waiting to hear about the other person. So I think you're in great shape, Maureen. That's tough to say, but I think if you do that, you're going to just have a really really nice, well balanced speech. So and congratulations on your son's wedding. Excuse me. Uh, we've got a comment. Shannon is asking, how do I make the start? Let's put it up here. Shannon's asking, how do I make the start of my speech not sound like I've just won an award? I feel like a lot of my speech is thanking people, and I want to talk more about stories of our lives. So I'm guessing you are half of the couple getting married. Congratulations. Yeah, there is a tendency to go up there and thank the Academy and God and your parents and everybody else, and wait for that playoff music. I think one way to do it, to not sound like you're accepting an award, is to actually acknowledge, I'm going to do my best not to make this sound like my Oscar acceptance speech. You can really just hit it over the head, but there are a lot of people I need to thank. That's a great way to do it because that's self-awareness. So rather than doing it and hoping people don't notice, another way to do it is, well, first of all, you're thanking people for coming. That really is the best way to start your speech. Thank everyone for coming. Thank Because those are things that wouldn't happen in an award speech. I mean, when you get into your friends and your parents, those are people who've made you the person that you are today. So sometimes that can sound awardy. But at the very beginning, you're simply thanking your guests for coming and for sharing that day, that weekend with you, and single out anyone who maybe has come especially far, people that have really gone out of their way or moved heaven and earth to be with you that day. I mean, sometimes people are local, but you've got parents and they've had to figure out how to free themselves for a few hours. So that's a great way to something great to mention. And that also will give that laundry list of thank yous a little bit more balance. Uh, by the way, who I think we've spoken. Have we spoken? Your name is sounding very familiar. But that would be my recommendation. So at the start of your speech, just start with welcoming the room. And also in that, you can acknowledge anything that might be a little bit unusual about the wedding. Maybe the location, maybe it's the first time people have been somewhere. I know a lot of people get married at wineries and breweries and barns. So if people are out in nature, you can comment on the day, you can comment on the weather, whether it's good or whether it's bad. You can also, I had a father of the bride not too long ago, and we were on a punch up session call. We were on a Zoom. He'd booked a consultation, and his wedding, his daughter's wedding, was on a Thursday because that was the day the couple could get the venue that they wanted. It was a massive price difference to have it on a Thursday rather than having it over the weekend. So we just had him. My suggestion to him was welcome everyone to their first Thursday wedding. Sometimes it's as simple as that. Or if you're getting married on a holiday, thank people for showing up on a day that they could be somewhere else. So yeah, I think that's a great way to go. Yep. Oh, Shannon says yes, that's right. Okay, we did speak. Uh, well, yeah. Thanks for your question. Let me see. Shannon says yes, that's right. Thank you. My pleasure, Shannon. When's the wedding coming up? Is it coming up soon? Okay, I'm looking for our next question here. Oh, okay. This is a question I hear fairly often. The bride and groom told me to roast them, but I'm not funny. Help. I'm gonna guess this is a best man. The best men always seem to feel a lot of pressure to make it roasty, which usually just means a bag of insults, which I don't think is a great way to go. You can have a lot of humor in a speech without making it a roast, without making it um, insulting. So it seems like the bride and groom, if they've told you to roast them, the note that I would hear is they want it to be funny and they kind of want to be called on their own uh, character flaws, experiences, things like that. So I don't think you need to feel the pressure to just give them a list of insults. A great way to add humor is simply adding truth. Life is funny. So you don't necessarily have to go online and find a whole bunch of roast jokes, which are usually just cruel and personal. I would say stick with truth and look at the things that your friend does. I'm going to guess you're the best man. So look at what are the things that are funny. So if you've met the groom, when did you meet the groom? Look for firsts and worsts. So think about the first time you met the groom. How did you know that you were going to be friends? Was it because he was the only sober one in the frat house? Was it because he was the drunkest guy in the frat house, the loudest guy? What are the things that drew you to him? And what are the things that, what are the great qualities that he's got? And then think about what are the qualities that he has that seem like they're actually in opposition to those qualities. So, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. So, things like if he's just an incredibly generous guy, this actually happened in a speech recently. The groom was just one of the most generous guys in the world, according to the best man who I was helping. Really generous, would just and all kinds of stories from the best man uh, that he'd experienced, and on behalf of everyone else, this guy would help you move. He would help you, he'd give you the shirt off his back. And I said, "Well, what are the quirks that he's got?" And one of the quirks was he hates people eating off his plate. I mean, it makes him crazy. It's a phobia. Just he can't stand it. So that gave us something to work with. That gave us a way to put a lot of love on him, share a lot of great stuff about the groom, and then balance it with he's a great guy. He helped me move. I was on the fifth floor. He was right after his hernia operation. He volunteers with orphans, and he spent his career in the military serving. He's just a wonderful, open guy. Unless you reach for one of his fries, in which case he'll stab you with his fork. So those are the things that make a speech great. So you get the benefit of that kind of your pointing out their flaws, but you're doing it in a really affectionate way, and you're doing it in a really balanced way. That's the key when it comes to roasting or anything that involves any sort of vague insult. It's balance. You don't want to just go up there and list insult after insult. You really have to package them in inside compliments. Almost make it a compliment. Think of the compliments and the truthful stuff, but think of the great stuff about this person as the bubble wrap that uh, you're using to wrap the things about their personality that you're poking fun at. Again, you say you're not funny, but I guarantee you are. Everyone, I work with clients all the time. They say that they're not funny, and then they say four things on the phone to me as I'm asking them these stories that make me laugh. If you've ever made a loved one laugh, if you've ever made your family laugh, your friends laugh, you're funny. Try to channel the part of yourself that's just telling stories over a beer or a glass of wine to friends, to people that you're really comfortable around. Don't try to channel, "I'm gonna be a stand-up comedian, I'm gonna be Dave Chappelle, or I'm gonna be Ricky Gervais, and I'm gonna go up there." That's not who you are. Channel the funniest version of yourself, the one that's relaxed, the one that's just catching up with friends, and you're making each other laugh and one-upping each other. That is who you are. That's your funny. That's what you need to use. So let's see if I can. So these are a lot of things to do here for someone with ADD. There's a lot going on this screen. Oh, Shannon's the wedding is May 31st. It's coming up quick. Coming up quick. All right. Let's find another question. Oh, well, before we find another question, if you're watching and you have a question or you're giving a wedding speech, first of all, let me know in the comments what kind of speech you're writing. Just drop it in there. I love knowing what kind of speeches people are writing. And if you have any questions about how to put together your wedding speech, how to generate material for it, or how to deliver it on the day, just go ahead and put your question in the comments. The best comment today is going to win a speech audit. That's where you send me the draft of your speech and I go over it. I record a 20, 30-minute video offering feedback on structure, on flow, on content, and also lots of suggestions on how to make it funnier and more engaging. I'm a comedy writer by trade. I'm wondering if I can pin. Can I pin this? Let's see. I'm trying to pin that product. So if you're in the US, you might be seeing wedding speech audit, something that you can click on if you want to find out a little bit more about it. Oh, hey, we've got lots of questions in here. Oh, yep, here they are. Let's see. Robert, my mediation just ended. Just joined you and we'll watch the replay later. Glad to be here and to see you. Hey, Robert, nice to see you. Yeah, fabulous. And I believe Robert is an attorney, so the mediation he was leading the mediation, I assume, and not being deposed. If you have any questions, Robert, just go ahead and leave them in the chat. It's nice to see you. Deborah, hi, how are you? Nice to see you. Hello, thank you for this live stream. Your advice is very helpful. Well, that is great to hear. Our daughter is having 2 weddings. Wow, okay. One in Oregon and a destination wedding in Colombia. How do we write different speeches? Well, I would say acknowledging that this is I would start the second one by acknowledging that a first one has happened. That's a great way to do it. And I don't know how many people are going to be at both weddings because that might help you. If there's a handful of people that are at both weddings, then I don't think you need to overthink it too much. You maybe just acknowledge to them. Some of you have heard a lot of this before, but I expect laughs in all the same places. Whatever you need to do. If it's going to be if a lot of the audience is the same, again, I would acknowledge it. And you can acknowledge that you were struggling that it made writing this one harder because a lot of people had already heard the best stories, but maybe you save a couple of your favorite stories for reserve, keep them in reserve and sort of so that you're able to say, now I told this story in the other one, but I told that story in the other one, but in this one, this is the first time anyone's hearing it because all of you made the trip to Colombia. I don't know if it's Colombia, because all of you made the trip. So you guys have really earned this one and save your favorite one for that. So that might be a way to do it. Let me know if you've got any follow-up questions on that, but that would be my advice. I mean, just a little bit of self-awareness. I mean, you're being asked to write 2 speeches and you want them to be distinct. So I think honesty never hurts and people are going to feel your pain and they're going to understand. So just maybe give them a little something special if they've gone all that way. And I would imagine actually, I mean, if the second one is a destination wedding in Colombia, you could point out some of the differences. Maybe in one of the things you can do in that second one is point out some of the differences, um, between the food, the experience, the venue. What are the what are some big differences um, between the 2 weddings? That might be fun for both audiences to hear. See, Stephen. Stephen, how are you? Uh, Nice to see you. Good advice. Channel the most relaxed, funny version of yourself. Yes, that's all you have to do. Every one of us is funny, even if you don't think you're funny. I guarantee you, you've made someone laugh. You've made um, even a small child. You've made someone laugh. So you're saying I'm not terribly funny either, but I did mine last year. Yes. And was able to find those moments that just absolutely clicked. It was great. Well, I'm so glad to hear that. And it was a pleasure to help you with your speech. This is why I love doing it because it's it's a moment with a lot of stakes. The stakes feel high. And it's a lot of fun to help people tell people how much they love them. Really, that's what these speeches are. You're wrapping it in a little bit of humor, you're sprinkling it in as seasoning, but it's a chance to just go up and tell people it's a happy occasion. How many of those do we get? You get to go up and just push love onto the people that you care about the most. And it's a lot of fun. And it's also going to be the best audience that you've ever had. So if you're nervous about giving your speech, know that this is the best audience that you will ever speak in front of. This isn't your 7th grade class who was probably obnoxious to you when you were giving your book report. They're not your coworkers at some random meeting who just want it to be over or they're looking at their phone. And it's certainly not a comedy club audience. Their expectation is they just want you are speaking for them in a lot of ways because they also love either, one or both halves of this couple. You're speaking on their behalf and they want this couple to have a great day. So they are rooting for you. And especially if I always work with a lot of fathers of the bride. I mean, you're footing the bill, likely. So believe me, they're going to laugh. They want you to succeed. So if you're giving a speech and you're worried, take a deep breath. You don't have to worry about this. You are not digging yourself out of a hole with this speech. You're starting in a good place and they just want you to be prepared. They just don't want you to wing it. They want you to take the opportunity seriously. And Lord knows if you are sitting on a Monday watching me in a live stream, you're taking this seriously. Deborah, very helpful. Thank you so much. Well, my pleasure. I'm glad you found that helpful. Let's go. Let me take down, if I can, let me unpin this speech audit. And let me get back into the questions here. Sorry, this is, again, I am of a certain age, and there's a lot of stuff going on at once. Okay, let's find another question. We did that one, we did that one. Here we go. Here's a question I hear a lot. Any tips on staying composed during the speech so I can get through it without becoming a blubbering fool? I like that. Blubbering fool. Just watching other father-daughter speeches on YouTube makes me emotional. Oh, I love this. I love this. So father-daughter. So there's a father of the bride. You're a big old softie. I love it. You don't have to worry about crying during your speech. It's okay to cry. You're human. This is your daughter. You're probably a big fan. It's okay to get emotional during your speech. Now, the real important thing though is you don't want to get emotional to the part where you can't get the words out. You want it to be balanced. You want to be able to reset every once in a while, and that's where humor comes in. Humor adds balance. Humor releases tension. So if write your speech and don't worry about as you write your speech, don't worry about any potential emotion coming in. Just write your speech the way you want to have it. And as you start refining it and you start practicing it, you'll very quickly, as you read it out loud, you'll very quickly find the places where you start to get choked up. Those are places where you need to release a little bit of tension. So if you're and that's what humor does. So if you get to the point where you feel yourself getting choked up, so say you're talking about, maybe at the beginning of your speech, very often people are talking about someone who's no longer with us. It's absent friends and family, or maybe you've got a parent, or, there's a grandparent who's not there, and that can be really emotional. But if you can add a little truth to that, so if you're talking about your daughter's grandmother, your mom, who would have loved to be there that day, tell us that, and tell us what your mom would be saying to your daughter. What would she be doing or saying, or, would she be, mom wouldn't, it couldn't have been, all the words try to come out at once. That's what ADD is. Everyone trying to get through the door at the same time, and then nothing happens. So if you are speaking about something sad, like a grandmother who is no longer there, tell us what she would say if she were there. Would she be saying to your daughter, I couldn't be happier that you found someone? Would she just be kissing everyone? Would everyone have lipstick on their cheek? What is it that she would have brought to those proceedings? Would she be giving you a hard time because there's no shrimp tower or there's no chocolate fountain? Just balance the sadness with some real stuff about her. I had a father of the bride who, his dad wasn't there, and his dad was a huge football fan, and the joke that we ended up going with, was that, his dad, it was heartbreaking that his dad wasn't there, but to be honest, even if his dad was alive, he probably wouldn't have been there because it was a Sunday and the Eagles were playing. Sometimes that's all it takes. If you can find a funny line, if you're talking about how wonderful your daughter is, and she's just got this quality and that quality and the other quality, follow that up. You'll get a little choked up, but then just end that run with, "Well, but you're not perfect. There was the time that this happened or that happened." That's all you have to do, is just release a little tension whenever you feel yourself getting choked up. And also, just be honest about it. If you absolutely know for sure that you are going to be just a heap of tears the entire way through, then I would set that up at the beginning. Set it up by saying, anyone who knows me knows that I cry, like I cry at detergent commercials. And that's your reputation. Set it up so, look, this is going to be a soggy speech. And then when it does happen, or if it happens, even if you've got the balance of a little bit of humor in there, if you still get choked up, then you can say, "I told you so." And something that I've seen people do is, if they're really worried about crying, but crying to the point where they can't get the words out, is they nominate someone, and then they just occasionally tag out. If it's dad speaking, and dad has a brother or a son-in-law, or whoever it is, the new son-in-law, just go, gives him one of these and brings someone else up because he can't get the words out himself, hands the son-in-law the speech, or hands his buddy or his brother, whoever it is, hands someone else, or mom, hands someone else the speech and says, You got to finish this for me." So then dad just sort of stood there like this, just tears streaming down his face, and someone else read the rest of the speech. That's okay too. There's no right or wrong way to do it. But generally, don't feel self-conscious about shedding a few tears. This isn't a board meeting. You're not giving a TED Talk. If you get a little bit overcome, it's not the worst thing in the world. It is an emotional occasion. So, I have a few as you can see, I have a few things to say on that subject. Let's find ourselves another question here. Yeah, here this is one I hear a lot. What happens if you're divorced? How to acknowledge her mom? Glenn. Well, Glenn, good for you for thinking it through. My advice is always to think of the speech as an olive branch. Take the high road, especially if you've got someone who is one of those people that can start an argument in an empty room. Divorce is tough, and some people hold a grudge. So, and then it can be awkward too, because if it's a divorce and maybe mom, maybe rightly, feels like she did a lot of the work or most of the work, um, and then it's dad that gets to go up there and speak, that you're kind of starting from a tough place. So be as gracious as you can, give mom lots of credit. I've read through speeches with dads and had to say, I wouldn't thank your girlfriend before you thank your daughter's mother. Um, just make sure to acknowledge what a great mom has been. Do it early, because if she has to wait for 3/4 of the speech, you know how people are. If she's waiting to see what you're going to say about her, the longer she waits, the more tension there's gonna be, and the higher the mountain it is you're gonna have to scale. So, if you sort of introduce yourself, welcome everybody, make her part of the welcome on behalf of myself um, and Karen's mom, Deborah. Thank you so much for sharing it. I mean, make her part of your speech early and often. And you don't have to say anything that isn't true, but make it clear. What you don't want is for it to come across as your victory lap. It's just, it's, you win the battle, but you lose the war. So acknowledge her mom early, acknowledge her contribution, acknowledge what good things your daughter got from her, because she must have gotten some good qualities from her. And then once you've done that, then you can kind of move on. And then you're telling stories from your own perspective. And if I've worked on some speeches where the daughter's early life is that's kind of also when things weren't great, and that's when the divorce was happening or whatever was going on. You also don't have to tell stories from that part of her life. If there's try to try to stick with the material that is least controversial or least potentially controversial. So that would be my advice. It's a happy occasion, and if people are there, it's also an emotional occasion, so sometimes people just wanna get angry. Try not to add fuel to that fire. Go out of your way. And then that way, your conscience is clean and everybody has seen your speech and thought, "Wow, he really was gracious about this." And then if your ex is a wingnut, then at least you know and everybody that saw the speech knows that you really made that effort. You can't do much about it, but, if people are at all mature, they're gonna see that effort. They really are. Great question, Glenn. If anyone's got any questions, I'm still taking live questions. These I'm going through questions that people have sent in earlier, but I will always prioritize the questions of anyone who is here with us live. So let me know if you've got any questions, anything I can answer for you, or just let me know in the comments what kind of speech you're writing. I can see that there's people here, um, but let me know what kind of speech you're working on. Okay, next question. I've been putting this off for a while. Okay. Um, I do not like talking in front of crowds. Daughter is getting married in 5 weeks. Thank you for the channel. I will be checking your videos out. Well, great. Well, thank you for watching the channel. If anyone's watching and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do it. I've got some good stuff coming up. Uh, so this person it really doesn't like public speaking. I've been putting this off for a while. I don't like talking in front of crowds. And earlier, I answered a question and was talking about if you don't enjoy public speaking, and a lot of people don't. There's that great Seinfeld joke about, most people would rather at a funeral, most people would rather be the one in the casket than the one giving the eulogy. But even if you don't like public speaking, wedding speeches are kind of their own animal. This is the best audience that you will ever speak in front of. Again, these aren't your classmates, these aren't your coworkers, it's not a comedy club, it's not a TED Talk, it's not a pitch. In all of those circumstances, and I speak for a living, in all of those circumstances, you're kinda starting out a little bit in a hole. You have to gain rapport, you have to gain the trust of the audience. But in speeches like this, you're kinda starting from a point where people already trust you. Why? Because the couple trusts you. The couple trusts you enough to ask you to speak at their wedding. And believe me, even if there are people if they didn't want you to speak, they wouldn't have you speak. So they trust you. You are up there, you're already been vetted. So people are fine with that. And also, they love this couple. They want this couple to have a great wedding and a great reception. So the audience is rooting for you to be successful. They want it to go well. This isn't, again, it's not a comedy club where people are just sort of awful and waiting for you to fail so they can just insult you and heckle you. They want you to succeed because they love the couple and they know that the couple loves you. So take a deep breath. If you're nervous when you go up there, and if you're just a little bit nervous or it's a little bit of adrenaline, you don't necessarily have to acknowledge it. But if you are so overcome with nerves that you know your paper's going to be shaking like this and you're going to have flop sweat running down your face, then it's okay to go up there and start your speech with, anyone who knows me knows that I'm not a fan of public speaking. It's actually kind of a phobia. But I wasn't going to let that get in the way of this opportunity, get in the way of the chance to come up here and just tell you how great and how much I love these 2 people right here. And then so if you do that, and you can throw in a joke, I always sort of think about y if you go up there and say, "Look, if I pass out, all I ask is you drag me back to my seat, and when I come to, tell me I was great." That's the kind of thing that even if you read it and you're shaking, you're telling people that you are you're giving people a sense of what you are willing to overcome to make this day special for people that they also love. And that is incredibly engaging, that is compelling. So, rather than pretending you're not nervous, but just shaking like a leaf, if you're shaking like a leaf, go, "As you can see, I'm kinda terrified to be up here, but" it's that "but" that is important. It's that "but" when you go up there and you that but I wasn't going to let a little thing like a pathological phobia stop me from coming up here and telling you some great stories about these 2 people. That's it. That's all you have to do. So y you don't have to love talking to crowds to give a great speech. And this particular question, it's your daughter's getting married. So, I mean, you have done harder things for love. If you're a parent, you have done harder things, more difficult things, motivated by simply by love of your kid. So you're gonna be great. You're gonna be great. The only way people fail these speeches is by not preparing. And the fact you're 5 weeks out, you're reading things, you're watching things, you're on YouTube, you will be prepared. It's the people that just go, "Ah, I've got it in my head. I thought of it on the drive to the venue." Those are the people that don't do well. Anyone who's taken any time, you're in good shape. You're gonna be great. St Steven says, "Yes, don't be afraid, it will be fine." Steven is a wizened veteran of wedding speeches. We worked together a little while back, and, he knocked it out of the park. Very proud of him. I love when people come back and say kind things. Let's go to another question. What time is it? All right. So a little bit more time for people to throw in a question if you've got one, if there's something that you're wondering about, how to either gather material for your speech, how to structure your speech, how to make it funny, or simply how to deliver it. If you drop your question in the comments, I will get to it. If not, I'll keep going through and answering questions. Here's a question. I don't know what to write since I do not like the groom and don't think they should be getting married. That's Chloe's question. Well, that's an awkward situation, Chloe. Uh, so I'm assuming, I'm going to guess maid of honor. Yeah, so you don't like the groom and you're the maid of honor and you've got to go up there and say nice things. A little bit earlier, I was answered a question about a divorced dad, and he was wondering what he should say about his daughter's mom, and my advice was to take the high road, and same advice here, Chloe. I would say take the high road. Now, in the structure of these speeches, I usually recommend an introduction, and then you've got your thank yous, and then you focus on your half of the couple and why they're great, and then you focus on the other half of the couple and why they're great. You don't have to make those 2 sections exactly the same length. You can think that your friend is great. You don't have to think that the groom is great. But for your friend's sake, because if this guy's a jerk, she will discover it. Let her have one nice day. So think about, even if you don't like the guy, think about what you have in common. And even if the only thing you have in common is the fact that you both love the bride, that you both really care about her. So you you do your introduction and your thank yous, and you talk about Chloe and why she talk about your Chloe. No, you talk about the bride and why she's wonderful. And if you really don't get along with the groom, you can be honest about it to a point. You can say, Dave, we don't see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. And believe me, if you don't like the groom, there's other people in the audience that don't like the groom. You're probably not alone. So you don't have to spell it out, but you can say, Dave, there's not a lot of stuff that we agree on, but the one thing that we have in common is that we both think that girl right there is absolutely amazing, and I know we will both do everything in our power to make her happy. It can be that. You don't have to say things that aren't true, you don't have to pretend that you like him, but make sure that you're not passive aggressive, because sometimes it can come across that way, so just make sure as you rehearse your speech and you read it out loud, just make sure that there's no way anyone could think that you're being a little passive aggressive. Just wish them the best. Because look, even if you don't like this guy, you still wish your friend happiness. You may not think she's going to find it with this guy, but you still want her to be happy. So that can still be a sincere wish. So I would say she's asked you to be her maid of honor. She probably knows that you're not a fan of this guy, but she's asked you to be her maid of honor. She's asked you to give this speech. She's hoping that you are, at the very least, not going to give a speech that says, well, I finally have a microphone and the opportunity to tell this guy tell Dave what a dick he is. Don't do that. Try to find what you have in common, even if that thing that you have in common is as tiny is well, I was gonna say tiny, but it's not tiny. Even if that thing that you have in common is the love that you both have for your friend. Give her a nice day. That's your job as maid of honor, and if that means grinning and bearing it or trying to find common ground with someone who's just on another planet, then that's what you do. She's your girl. All right? Good luck. Let's go back to some comments here. So Shannon has a comment. My father isn't walking me down the aisle doing my father the bride speech, but he is going to the wedding, and I don't want to pretend he doesn't exist. but I can't think of a way to mention him. Oh, wait, there's a second part. So, okay, so dad is not walking you down the aisle or doing a father of the bride speech, but he's going to be there, and you want to find a way to acknowledge him or mention him, okay, without it being awkward. He's a good guy, but we haven't had a close relationship. We do both love the same football, soccer. Ah, yes, you are. Yes. Um, love the same team. Do I just use that? Seems rather impersonal. Well, it is impersonal, but well, maybe it isn't impersonal because why do you love that team? Do you have any nice memories of the 2 of you watching games together? I mean, how did you most people are fans because they've had experiences, someone brought them into that fandom, someone showed them the ropes kind of being a fan. So, maybe if those are the nice memories that you have, again, it's sort of taking the high road with everything. If those are the nice memories that you have, then focus on those. Um, I believe you're doing a bride's speech, and I'm trying to think of how I would well, so in a bride's speech, and, is sort of similar to a groom's speech, and that's something that it's less common in the US, but it's more common in, the UK and Australia. It's where the groom will sort of the groom or the bride, but the groom will go up and sort of thank everyone on behalf of the couple, and sometimes it's a two-person speech. And, I think what I remember from our conversation is that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna get up and sort of be the representative of the couple, uh, and do the thank yous. So I assume then you'll thank mom as well. But yeah, again, you don't have to spend a lot of time on him if he's not a huge part of your life. Um, yeah, thank him for maybe make it a rule of threes. Thank him for showing you, there must be something that he's done. I mean, even if it's physical characteristics, thanks for giving me my height and, blue eyes and for showing me that, the Tottenham Hotspurs will just break your heart every year. I don't know football or soccer, but make it a rule of threes. Thank him for 3 things. Make the first 2 things you can find something. If he gave you a good chin or nice skin, even those sorts of things, even if he's, not if you can't think of actual personality things, um, think of physical things that he shared with you, and then make the soccer fan part the 3rd thing, and then maybe there's an inside or slightly inside kind of soccer joke. If it's a team that sort of is always wins, or if it's a team that always breaks everyone's heart at the last moment. But yeah, I think sometimes leaving someone out, even if they haven't been a big part of your life, it puts a bigger spotlight on it than it would if you just kind of throw in 2 lines about them. So that might be a way to do it. Um, great question, though. Okay, we've got another question in here. Uh, Shannon says, "Great guess, it is Tottenham." Oh, well, yeah, my in-laws are, I've married into a Spurs fandom, so it was just the first one that came to mind. Um, okay, we've got a question from Lindsay. "I'm giving a maid of honor speech for a gal whose father passed away recently. I wanna mention him in a tasteful way without overstepping." Uh, wow, yeah, that's heavy, and you're very sweet to really be considering that. Um, so to keep it tasteful, what I find again is just lean on truth. If if she's a good friend of yours, then you probably knew her dad or knew her. Um, keep it in the realm of your own experience. So I would say again in the structure of a speech, and also I've got a free. Well, I've got all kinds of products and services. I've got paid stuff, but I've got all these free videos here on YouTube on how to. And then if you go down to the description, I've got a free, wedding speech writing guide that you can click. It's got the link to download it, and that goes through the 6 parts of a speech, So you've got the intro, the thanks and acknowledgments, and then you talk about your half of the couple and why they're great, the other half of the couple, why they're great together, and then your toast. So I think in this case, rather than doing it in the acknowledgement section, depending on how close you were to the dad that passed away, it might be more tasteful to mention him in the section where you talk about your friend and why she's great, because you can talk about how you first met and some of the great experiences you had together, but maybe you can talk about her losing her dad in the sense of, and she's one of the strongest people I've known. I mean, she's, especially this year, I have no idea how she she was a rock for everyone in her family. Going into it that way might be the most organic way to do it, because then you're talking about it from firsthand experience. You saw how she handled things. So then it's more about her than about him. So if you were her, if it was the bride's brother speaking, then yeah, he can talk about how sad he is to not have dad there. But that may not necessarily be your place to do it. Again, I don't know the specifics of the dynamics between all of you, but that may not be the right place for you to do it. So, yeah, maybe adding it to the section on why she's great. And again, you wouldn't necessarily open with it, but just if you have that at the end of it, at the end of the section why she's great and how her strength and how and the strength that she showed and the caring that she showed for other people in her life and how she was a support to the other people in her life. That's a beautiful thing to say about someone. And that may give you a natural transition into the next person that you're going to talk about, which is the groom, or the person that she's marrying. So if she's really strong, then because then if he was a source of strength to her, then you can use her strength and how she supported everyone through that time, or how she made it through that time, or helped her father towards the end, or mom. And then you can transition very organically into the person that she's marrying, and how that person hopefully was a source of strength to her. So that would be my advice for that. Oh, something else from Lindsay. That's great advice. Yes, that's what I like to hear. No, I'm glad you found it helpful. It's I've done a lot of these, and there's always a way to do things. It's really just a matter sometimes of thinking it through and thinking of how it could come across to other people, and keeping it all very firmly in the lens of your own experience, because you saw what she went through, and that's what you can talk about, and be very authentic about it. One of my favorite memories of him was his taking us to get ice cream. How could I mention in the sock? How could I mention? Bleh, how could I mention that in the section where I talk about my fond childhood memories with her? Well, that's perfect. Because you can. I mean, how did you guys meet? Did you grow up in the same neighborhood? I mean, did you meet her the day before you started your first day of school, and you guys were just inseparable? And in fact, her family became your family, and some of your favorite memories are, and of dad taking you guys to get ice cream, and where did you go for ice cream? Was there a particular place, and did you have a particular order, and was it dad's excuse just so he could get an ice cream? Did he have a particular order? Was there something that he ate? Did he had coffee ice cream and you guys thought that was gross? um, yeah, I think that would be perfect. I think that's a great way to mention him, and it's really organic to the situation. That would be beautiful. That would be beautiful. Lindsay says, "Perfect sense, bridging those 2." Yeah, I don't think there's no right or wrong way to do it. My job when I work with clients or do the one-on-ones or do speech audits, it's really just talking things through and figuring out, getting a little bit more information, like you just shared the ice cream story. It's a way to, find those great stories and those great moments. Because again, truth is funny, and truth is compelling, and it's what everyone in the audience wants to hear. They don't wanna hear a Hallmark card about they wanna hear they know these people are great. They already think they're great. They wanna hear and they have their own stories. They wanna hear your stories and how everything's interconnected and why these people are it's so wonderful that these people are a part of your life. There's great questions today. How have we've done 55 minutes already. Well, this is amazing. So, uh, if you are I'm gonna pin a few things here. So, if you're looking for help with your speech, you can find all my links down in the oh, there you go. You can find links to all my products and services down in the description. If you have questions, we're going to be wrapping this up pretty soon, so send them in quickly. If you're watching on the replay and you have a question, just leave it as a comment because I do answer every single comment that comes in on the channel. So if you've got a question, go ahead and answer it. On the screen now, theoretically, if I've done it correctly, uh, you are probably seeing one of my other services. It's a 60-minute wedding speech punch up session. You and I jump on a Zoom together and we read through your speech line by line. We spend an hour going through it and we make sure that that the tone is perfect, that you tick every box that you need to tick. We make sure that it's funny and organized and has a great flow and it just builds momentum all the way from the beginning to the end. So the toast is just comes like you're landing a ski jump. You just want the most energy there. That's always an option for you. Unpin that. I've also got templates and all sorts of things. And I even got, there's even a free speech writing guide down there in the description. So check it out. If I can help you in any other way, you can always find me here on the channel, or you can find me at authenticallyfunnyspeeches.com. And, so I need to name a winner. I need to name a winner for the speech audit. And, Shannon, we have a winner. Shannon, you are the winner of the free speech audit. I would be happy to take a look at the draft of your speech and send you feedback if you think that's something that, so reach out to me. Send me an email. If not, I will find you because I think we've spoken before. I think you came through on my chat with a question. So I will find you. You are the winner. And if you need any help, uh, boy, this ending, it just suddenly went nowhere. This is ADD. This is what happened. Everything just came down and can't have a complete thought. Uh, Oh, there's a new comment. Hopefully, it's someone giving me my smooth ending. Oh, Stephen, thank you. Great job, Beth. I drove it into a wall there at the very end, but I didn't forget to give away the gift, so that's the most important thing. I have another daughter. Oh, wow, could be more wedding bills before long. I'll be in touch. Well, I look forward to it. That's Shannon says, "Thank you so much. I would absolutely love that. Thank you for your great questions. Thanks for tuning in. If you need help with your wedding speech, take a look at this video right here. It's the perfect outline. It'll give you the perfect flow for your speech. Have a look at that. And hopefully, I'm pointing to something that will be there when I edit it. Bye bye, everyone."